Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from the Raising Cane studio.
Let's ride!
After further review here on a Monday presented by Relief Windows. Musso in for Moscona. Moscona enjoying his last week of vacation here. He will be back 1 week from today. Jordan Kitchens, Paul O'Neill back from his vacation. They join me and glad that you join us as well here as we have a jam-packed Monday show. LSU, the football season comes to an end. Brief thought on the Texas Bowl. I mean, it kind of is what it is, but I'll give you thoughts on the game that took place. The Saints have won 4 straight, and now we really can dive into the LSU football offseason. We have portal updates, the offensive line, just about the whole thing is in the transfer portal. Lane Kiffin on the broadcast of the Texas Bowl talked about his recruiting plan, and the way he said it, it kind of strayed away from what we all think we know about Lane Kiffin's plan in building a roster with high school recruiting in the portal, but I have some thoughts there as well. Michael Van Buren talked about his future with LSU after the Texas Bowl. So we have a lot to do, and of course Tyler Shuck as well. A couple Saints on the offensive side that I really want to dive into specifically. So we're going to get to all of that here today, and we're going to go ahead and get started, actually.
It's time to pop the top on another edition of AFR with Bud Light. Drink easy.
And we will get started with the Texas Bowl. LSU falls to Houston 38-35, finished the season 7-6. It wasn't all bad, but the majority of it was pretty bad. There were just a lot of things throughout that game on Saturday night and really almost into Sunday morning. There were just microcosms of LSU's season. And again, I don't want to spend a lot of time on that because it's a Texas Bowl, right? I mean, the outcome is what it is. And that's really just that. What I will say, though, is LSU couldn't have asked for a better start in that game. Barian Brown takes the opening kickoff 99 yards to the house. You force a punt on Houston's first drive. And then LSU goes 60 yards in 4 plays, touchdown. And that's one of the things that you saw with LSU's offense. The big play returned to it, but there still were some misses. The run game was still disappointing. Harlem Berry was averaging 15 yards per carry. He fumbled. You didn't see him again. That's ridiculous. Like, as much as LSU's offense and run game had struggled, when you have a guy with that much upside who's really taken over running back one, to bench him after a fumble when you're trying to win a football game is just kind of coaching malpractice, honestly. But that happened. And there were a few moments throughout the game that were just absolutely backbreaking or felt absolutely backbreaking. One of them is LSU. You come out in the third quarter, you force the punt, which was huge because you'll remember Houston, LSU had the ball in Houston territory near the end of the first half under 2 minutes. You end up getting nothing out of it. Houston goes right down the field and goes 90 yards in a minute and a half, by the way, scores the touchdown. That felt backbreaking at the end of the half because they get the ball to come out. But to LSU's defense's credit, they force a punt. LSU goes right down the field. They score the touchdown. Game's tied again. And then comes the 75-play-yard drive to give Houston the lead again. And that felt backbreaking in the moment. The one that was really backbreaking, though, was in the fourth quarter when LSU ties the game at 28 on their first drive. And then Houston goes on this long drive, a 7-minute drive, 13 plays, and LSU's defense bows its neck at the goal line and holds Houston to a field goal. And you have a shot there. You can go take your first lead of the game since it was 14-7 in the first quarter. And instead, LSU goes 3-0. And then Houston goes right down the field, scores a touchdown, and that was it. The game was over there. LSU's defense was not good. That's not something that's overly surprising. Sat right here on Tuesday when we gave our final thought on this game. Said if LSU's going to do anything in this game to stop Houston, they have to stop the running game and force Connor Wegman to beat you with the arm. And I added the caveat that I thought Houston would actually be able to run the ball pretty well against LSU in this game because of some of the opt-outs, specifically at the linebacker position, things of that nature. You didn't have A.J. Halsey, who had been very good in run support at the safety position, and Houston ran for 200 yards. And because of that, Connor Wegman had a clean pocket all night long and picked you apart. And he was awesome. He was efficient. Tip your hat. He had everything he wanted offensively to work in his favor to allow him to do that, and he took advantage of it. He also ran for 56 yards. Houston was able to control the game from a time of possession standpoint, which is what they want to do, and really lean on their ground game. And you know what? I thought LSU did okay against the run in the first half, but late in the game, they had been out there for a while, and they wore down. Houston had 38 minutes time of possession to LSU's 21. LSU committed 9 penalties in the game for 95 yards. Of those 9 penalties, 6 of them gave Houston a first down. That's just that's never going to get it done. So in the end, look, LSU, they lose the game 38-35. That's really all I have to say on game flow and whatnot of that, except for, the LSU's last touchdown at the goal line. That was, talk about a microcosm of the season. You're on the 6-inch line. You come out and shotgun, throw the ball. Then on the very next play, you go to run it. Michael Van Buren makes the wrong read, and you get stuffed, lose yards. Luckily, you were able to punch it in the next play, but it's just stuff you saw all year. So they lose 38-35. They finish 7-6. 2025 is put to bed. What I would like to point out, though, were some standout performances from this game, and there were plenty on both sides of the ball. We'll start offensively. Michael Van Buren had a really good game. It's not to say he was perfect. He wasn't. There were some misses in there. We just mentioned the wrong read on the goal line. He short hopped a couple to Kyle Parker, but overall, Michael Van Buren graded out a 90 for the game against Houston in PFF. He threw 3 touchdowns, didn't turn the ball over. He was very good. What I really liked from Van Buren in that game was he hung in there and took some hits and delivered some really good balls. The throw he made to Trey'Dez Green late in the game over the middle was the best throw he's made all season long. He under pressure, Van Buren in the game against. Here we go. Under pressure, Van Buren in the game. How about this? Had 100% completion percentage. He was 3 out of 3. That's fantastic. When blitzed, he graded out a 92. Overall, 91 in passing when he was blitzed. He was very, very good under pressure, and I thought that was encouraging going forward. We'll talk about his future with LSU a little bit later in the show. I have that on the docket in the 5 o'clock hour. I thought Kyle Parker was very good as well. In the ballgame, 7 receptions that led LSU's team. He did score a touchdown. They were really able to get him the ball underneath and just let him work. It shows you, that's a guy who's kind of cut from the same cloth as an Aaron Anderson. And Kyle Parker's always been a really solid player. That's somebody, you look at this game, depending on the decision that he makes, if he returns, if he enters the portal, this could be a jumping off point potentially for him going into next year, because you look at him and you go, yeah, let Lane Kiffin get his hands on him, put him in that offense, you could be really good. The same goes for Trey'Dez Green, who's just an absolute freak show. It was the one-handed touchdown catch with the defender draped all over him. I tweeted after and said, there has not been many offensive highlights this year for LSU, but watching Trey'Dez Green just consistently big boy defenders has been a pleasure. That guy is the definition of mismatch. He's a freak athlete who's fast. He's 6'7". The 24-yarder he had, he really was able to show off the speed in the open field. You can drape all over him. It doesn't matter. He's going to find a way to the football. And he was just awesome. And if you're looking at guys who are at the top of the list of who LSU has to retain, Trey'Dez Green is at the top of the list. Maybe the only other one you'd put in there would be Harlem Berry. That's even close in the same realm as Green offensively. But that is a guy you absolutely have to have back. You look at someone with a jumping off point from last year's bowl game, the Texas Bowl against Baylor. Trey'Dez Green that all came to fruition for him here as a sophomore. I mean, the numbers aren't going to blow you away, but you look at Trey'Dez Green, the seven receiving touchdowns he had this year for LSU, far and away led the team. I mean, he was absolutely awesome. He was your weapon down there, the 433 yards, but he also led your team in average of reception as well. He was awesome, and he was awesome in that game. Defensively, Deshaun Spears is absolutely at the top of my list, y'all. We talked about him heading into the game last year, somebody you really wanted to see get a full run at this in a full game, and he was awesome. Deshaun Spears was your third highest graded player on defense, a 72 overall. He was great against the run on a night where LSU just wasn't. He was really good in coverage as well, and he played 87 snaps. He was your third leading tackler in the ball game. Deshaun Spears was everywhere. He was, and he was, again, like I said, the only place he struggled was pass rush downs. But other than that, he graded out great in run defense. He was a great tackler, and he was great in coverage. That's a guy you look forward to going forward now with LSU, and you say, okay, jumping off point, he was really good this year, as well. That's a cornerstone potentially for your secondary at the safety position, depending on what you can get with Tamarcus Cooley if he ends up returning. I mean, to be your starting safeties, and you feel pretty darn good about that. And P.J. Woodland, man, Woodland struggled tackling in the game, but he was also strong against the run and really strong in coverage. He was your second highest graded player, and that just really caps off what was an awesome sophomore season for P.J. Woodland. So wanted to give him a shout out. And I mean, now you feel really good with him coming back kind of as your, cinched in starter, hopefully there at corner, and you'll have P.J. Woodland, you'll have DJ Pickett opposite P.J. Woodland, hopefully in that secondary, and you feel good there. DJ Pickett had a couple rough moments in coverage, but overall I thought he played fine. So, I mean, I think you feel pretty good there, going forward. So you did have some standouts. Loved the big play return to the LSU offense. It just wasn't enough because the balance isn't there, and it hasn't been all year, and you were only on the field for 21 minutes of gameplay. And that's just, that's not going to cut it. But, yeah, without those big plays not there, hat tip. For the first time this season, LSU's offense went over 25 points against the Power 14. They scored 28 of your 35 were offensive points. So, took to the last game of the season, but you did do that. But ultimately, it's a loss, and there was plenty of ugly in the game. But did want to kind of go through all of it. So that puts a button on LSU season, 7-6, and now the Lane Kiffin era can officially begin. All right, we'll grab a break. We're going to come back on the other side. The New Orleans Saints, they have won their fourth straight. They're the ones providing the excitement in football season, and it's not really something I had on my bingo card here in 2025, given the expectation for LSU. But the Saints, they keep finding ways to win, and a lot of it's on the back of Tyler Shuck and others. We'll break down their victory over the Titans next here on AFR.
AFR. After further review, presented by Relief Windows. Windows, doors, siding, and oh, we do shutters too.
Always a pleasure to tell you about our friends at the Williamson Eye Center. Check them out online at williamsoneye.com. They've got locations all over the greater Baton Rouge area. On the Baton Rouge General Campus, you turn off a Bluebonnet onto Picardy, you make that right. And then right there at the stop sign, the building on the right, the first two floors, that's the Williamson Eye Center. State-of-the-art dry eye center, and it's full service. Of course, they have their state-of-the-art surgery center there where you can have your LASIK or whatever surgical procedure you're having. But they have your standard annual eye exam as well at the Williamson Eye Center. Learn more at williamsoneye.com. The thing I tell you every day is take the advice that I was given and change your life. To give yourself the gift of sight is absolutely incredible. If you're someone like me who spent your life with contacts or glasses, there is a way to be done with it forever. WilliamsonEye.com. Go see Dr. Blake Williamson for that free consultation. 924-2020, 924-2020, or WilliamsonEye.com for the Williamson Eye Center.
Well, the New Orleans Saints went on the road up to Nashville and in come from behind fashion won their fourth straight game here as they go down the stretch, 34-26 over the Tennessee Titans. And boy, it wasn't without drama. It wasn't without some frustration, and it definitely wasn't without clutch plays. And the Saints had plenty of those throughout. They were up and down the field in the second half. It's an odd thing with the Saints that, man, they just get off to these slow starts, specifically on offense. But when we look back at what we talked about heading into this game, and both teams were kind of in lockstep a little bit, that each of the Titans were averaging 27 points per game in their last three. The Saints were averaging 24. The difference was the Titans' defense was bad and the Saints' defense was really good. And that's how it played out. The Saints got off to their traditional slow start on offense. They had 46 yards. Or, I'm sorry, 44 yards in the first quarter. There was just nothing there. But their defense kept them in the game. Their defense gave up plenty of big plays. Cam Ward, I thought, played a very nice game, even though he didn't have the exceptional run support that he had in his last three. When Tony Pollard had put together, 3 straight 100-yard games. You stopped that streak, by the way. Another hat tip to the New Orleans Saints defense in that regard. But 3 instances in particular where the Saints defense really bowed their neck and picked up the slack and gave you a chance and kept you in the game. First and foremost is the strip sack touchdown for Chase Young, which was just an incredible play. That's now 8.5 sacks for Chase Young on the season in 11 games. I mean, y'all, if he wasn't hurt for the first 5 games of the season, you're looking at a double-digit sack season for Chase Young. He just continues to elevate, and he's been awesome. But at that point, y'all, it was 13-3, and you're doing nothing offensively. You had finally put points on the board. It was in the ensuing drive, and Chase Young in that spot on third down, or excuse me, on it was 1st and 20. It was after a penalty. Strip sack, just rips the ball away from Cam Ward and takes it in, and you're down 13-10. Now, again, bit of backbreaking was at the end of the half. You do allow the Titans to go right down the field and score, but the other instance comes in the third quarter where it's 2017. You just scored the touchdown on the opening drive, and the Saints defense, you get the sack on 3rd and goal. They bow their neck. You hold them to a field goal at the goal line. That was massive because that was another opportunity right there for the Titans to go back up 10. You go down, get a field goal, and then again, after the Saints in the fourth quarter really started hitting their stride offensively, and you have the fumble touchback. Dante Pettis is going into the end zone, fumbles. It's a touchback. It's a 26-20 game at that point, and the Saints defense goes out there and gets a huge stop, forces the punt, and that's when New Orleans is able to go take the lead. And then Cam Jordan, man, when it's an 8-point game there late, Cam Jordan ends up with the sack where it looked like Cam Ward made yet another sensational play. But those 4 instances right there, the defense really stood their ground. Once at the goal line, and then 2 other times in Saints territory with the turnover on downs as well as the field goal to start the fourth quarter. So massive hat tip to those guys for that. Offensively for the New Orleans Saints, and I guess I should also say, shout out to Cam Jordan. I mean, just that's 9.5 sacks. He needs half sack for a double-digit sack season at 36 years old. That's absurd. He's now also sacked 52 quarterbacks. Cam Ward makes 52. He's found the fountain of youth. He's been great. Offensively for the New Orleans Saints, it is incredibly odd that they cannot get off to a hot start. It baffles me. Now, the adjustments that they are able to make and playing to their strengths, that's a whole different story. And Kellen Moore has been fantastic at that, and so has Tyler Shuck. We talked about this last week, recapping the win over the Jets. When Kellen Moore was hired, the thing you heard first and foremost, really probably above all else, was, man, his great ability to adapt his offense to what he had available. And that has just been on full display. Full display these last 2 weeks, and Tyler Shuck's a big reason why. You look at Shuck, He was 10 of 11 in the first half. It didn't feel like it, but he was. And then he just took his play to a whole nother level in the second half. Shuck for the game, 22 of 27, 333, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. That's back-to-back 300-yard passing games for Tyler Shuck. It's the first time a rookie quarterback has had back-to-back 300 passing games since C.J. Stroud did it in 2023. But what stands out more and more with Tyler Shuck, and why you look at him and go, yeah, he just might be your franchise quarterback. He continues to make plays when you need him the most. When the game is on the line, he plays his best and leads his team to victory. And I think that's what has stood out first and foremost in these offensive onslaughts of a second half that the Saints have had. It's Tyler Shuck down the stretch willing that team to victory and getting big performances from Chris Olave, who has been awesome, by the way, the last 3 games and really this entire season. More on that later. It's the big catches from a guy like Juwan Johnson, who Juwan Johnson had a high in receiving yards at 95 in this game. Kevin Austin has really stepped up. Shuck and Austin have a great rapport, a great chemistry. And you even got some big catches from Dante Pettis. The New Orleans Saints had about a little over 200 yards in the first 3 quarters. They eclipsed that alone in the fourth. They were awesome. You scored on 4 of your first 5 possessions in the second half, and the only one you didn't was when Dante Pettis was going into the end zone and fumbled. The rhythm they hit was massive. And something that led to that I didn't have on my bingo card was Audric Estime. Again, without Mason Tipton, without Devon Vele, without Alvin Kamara, without Devin Neal, without Kendre Miller, without Cesar Ruiz, without Eric McCoy, and the Saints' run game has struggled all year. You need guys to step up. Audric Estime was that guy who stepped up big time for the Saints on Sunday against Tennessee. Career high, 94 yards, a dagger of a 32-yard touchdown run where he was shifting, making guys miss, and running through tackles left and right. But of those 94 yards, 88 of them came in the second half. That is what ultimately took this Saints offense to the next level. You found a running game with Audric Estime, and that just allowed Tyler Shuck all the time in the world in the pocket to go out there and pick apart a Tennessee defense and a Tennessee secondary that hasn't been very good. And that's exactly what he did. Just an all-around team win. Where you look at the Saints, the slow start on offense, they were down 10 twice and 13 once, all in the first half. And then they outscored the Titans 24-6 in the second half. The defense held the line. The offense came alive late. And you end up winning this, or dominating the second half and winning by 8. Shout out to Charlie Smith. Great bounce back from him. Missed his first kick of the day, which was 43 yards. There were some wind issues, and he had been ill. But comes back, 56-yarder, 57-yarder, new career long and 57 yards. A complete team win. And I'll go back really as the unsung hero of this game should be Audric Estime. Because him almost going for 100 yards, that really opened things up and got the Saints offense into just an unbelievable rhythm where we said 4 out of your first 5 drives you scored in the second half. The only one you didn't was the fumble and touchback into the end zone. Like you were going in. It was a great run, a great catch and run by Dante Pettis, and the ball got knocked out from behind. But he still contributed plenty in that football game. Playing to their strengths. We really need to run through everything they didn't have again on offense. And it didn't matter. And a lot of that's due to Tyler Shuck and Kellen Moore. And that's why you look at this and you say, man, there's excitement. It's the first 4-game winning streak since 2020. Saints won 9 straight games that year. Drew Brees was your quarterback. You were in the playoffs. You won the division. Everything was great. And that's why you look at this and you go, okay, sure, I'll get excited maybe when they beat somebody, right? No. I'm not in that camp. There's excitement around this team, and there should be. You should feel good going forward into next year because you know who your starting quarterback's going to be. And if he turns in another season anywhere close to this, which he's most likely going to win Offensive Rookie of the Year, if he doesn't at this point, it's a complete farce in Tyler Shuck. And if he piggybacks off of this great rookie season next year and takes that jump that you hear so much about, then yeah, you found your franchise quarterback, or at least you feel like you do. You definitely know he's your guy next year. You've really looked at this and you've hit in the draft class on certain guys. Doesn't Jonas Sanker feel like a pretty good hit? Obviously, Tyler Shuck feels like one right now. Devin Neal, before he got hurt, everyone liked what you were seeing from him. Kelvin Banks has been pretty good at left tackle. There's been some growing pains in there. He had a really rough game against the Jets, but he's been solid. You made all 9 picks. Danny Stutzman. I thought Danny Stutzman was awesome on Sunday against Tennessee. He ended up with 6 stops. His snap count went up. He had 6 tackles. It was the same amount of stops as DeMario Davis. That's a guy to be really excited about. And then I'll just go back to it. This hasn't happened in 5 years. You haven't won 4 games. I don't care who you're doing it against. You're going to tell me, the Saints have been playing a last place schedule for a while. You've had stretches like this, and you couldn't win 4 straight. You can now, and it's because of what Kellen Moore and the culture that he's instilled, where these guys are still playing hard and playing for each other, and you've got some players elevating, young players elevating their performance, which is in turn elevating the performance of this team. And it's hard to look at the Saints and say they're not playing the best football right now of any team in the NFC South. They won't win the division. That's fine. But the Carolina Panthers very may well win the division, and you swept them this season. There's plenty of reason for optimism and excitement around the New Orleans Saints. We'll see if they can close it out strong with a 5th straight victory against the Atlanta Falcons over there in Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Georgia on Sunday. We got plenty of time to talk about that, but you can hop on the bandwagon, hop on the excitement train whenever you want. I'm just telling you, I'm already there, and really nothing that happened Sunday wavers me from that. This has been a great end to the season and one that I don't think anybody saw coming. So hats off to the New Orleans Saints. 4 straight wins, 34-26 over the Titans on Sunday. All right, we're going to grab a break. We'll come back on the other side. It's a Monday edition of AFR presented by Relief Windows. Musso in for Moscona. Scone is back a week from today, finishing out his vacation. So you got me the rest of the week. We are off on Wednesday and Thursday to observe New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. We're back here for the opening of the transfer portal on Friday, which should be a massive, massive day around college football and LSU football as well. We have plenty of talk around that coming up in hour number 2 of today's show. Grab a break. Stay here. Around the SEC is next on AFR.
AFR.
Brought to you by Glow Resources. If you are a business owner, if you're an HR manager, a VP, an ops manager, if you're the person in charge of hiring at your job, at your place of business, and you're having trouble finding the right people, you need Glow Resources. Now, I want to remind you, Glow Resources, they're exceptional when it comes to skilled blue-collar workers and also white-collar divisions. Remember, Glow Resources has a full professional placement division. So we're talking about office administrators, executive-level assistants, assistant controllers, plant managers, scheduling assistants, basically any type of office job. Accounting, HR, marketing, managerial, supervisor roles. If you're having trouble finding those people and sometimes hard to fill roles, Glow Resources specialize. They recruit nationwide. For example, they had a Baton Rouge company that was looking for an engineer. They found the employee in Florida to work the job in California. It's Glow Resources. Check them out online today. glowresources.com.
After further review, presented by Relief Windows. Windows, doors, siding, and oh, we do shutters too.
Brought to you by Relief Windows and reliefwindows.com. You know, when we talk about Relief Windows every day, I always say windows, doors, siding. And now shutters as well. They do your indoor shutters. Same thing as the windows. Custom made, measured to fit your windows, custom fit for your windows, lifetime warranty on your windows, your shutters. But Brandon, you often hear say their number one product is customer satisfaction. And that's not just a catchy line. That's not a cliche phrase. Have an experience with Relief Windows and you'll understand. They go to the ends of the earth to make sure their customers are thrilled with the work they do. As a matter of fact, Relief Windows never takes $1 from you. You will not, no deposit, no down payment. They take all the risk. They will not take $1 until you're thrilled with the work they do. Who else does that? Only Relief Windows. Check them out online at reliefwindows.com.
Before we get to around the SEC, just kind of a quick update on bowl season. You're about to see SEC teams kind of kick it a full gear here now as we get late into the bowl schedule. At Tennessee, they'll face Illinois in the Music City Bowl tomorrow, 4:30 while we're on the air. The Vols are a 3.5-point favorite in that game. Then on New Year's Eve, Vanderbilt and Texas both in action. Vanderbilt in the ReliaQuest Bowl, they're facing number 23 Iowa. The Doors, a 5.5-point choice in that game. Texas, obviously, in the Cheez-It Citrus Bowl on New Year's Eve as well. They're facing number 18 Michigan, which, man, all the turmoil surrounding Michigan. A lot of coaching changes, obviously, in that one with, Sharon Moore. Biff Poggi will be the interim head coach there for Michigan for that game. But you also have a change in defensive coordinator for Texas as well, with Will Muschamp coming in. He won't coach the bowl game, right? But, he's coming in there. So good bit of turnover already surrounding that one and just some unfortunate circumstances for that Michigan program. That's probably been a very hard game to prepare for, given everything that's gone on around their program. Texas, though, a 7-point choice so far in as it stands right now in that game. And then, of course, college football playoff on New Year's Day, Alabama, they'll face top seed Indiana in the Rose Bowl. The Hoosiers, a 7-point favorite in that ball game. And then the rematch, Ole Miss and Georgia in the Sugar Bowl just down the road from us in New Orleans. That was a great football game in the regular season. Georgia ended up pulling that one out by 7. And they're a 6.5-point favorite here in this game. That's going to be really the most interesting one. And it's going to be the one where all eyes, at least here, are on that, because you think it's safe to say there's not an LSU fan alive that's rooting for Ole Miss to win that game. I think everybody wants it to just be over and move on from that. And Georgia is just a much different team the last month of the season than they were the first two and a half months. They've been awesome. They're much more physical. They look, again, like a Kirby Smart team. And, Georgia, they were real young coming into this season. I mean, it's Georgia, for all the portal craziness, Georgia and Kirby Smart have done a great job retaining their roster and developing young talent. And I think that's been on no greater display than it was this season. So Georgia looks like the SEC's best chance to win a national championship. And outside of Indiana, they might be the favorite to win the national championship. There is Ohio State in there still too, but I like Georgia a little bit more than the Buckeyes. And then Mississippi State will round out the bowl slate outside of the playoffs on January the 2nd, Friday. They're in the Duke's Mayo Bowl, one of the greatest bowls of all time, and they're going to play Wake Forest. And Jeff Lebby and the Bulldogs, a 3-point choice there. So that's kind of where things stand. Losing record so far for the SEC in bowl games, but bowl games, it's funny. I saw something on Twitter earlier. It says, are bowl games with portal and opt-outs and all that, or is that really a fair measure of a conference's strength? To which my response is, well, it depends on which conference you root for. Oh, yeah. If your conference is doing well, like if you're the Big Ten right now, you're undefeated, you're beating your chest, right? Best conference ever. But yeah.
Moose, they can't wait to play an SEC team that has 1 million opt-outs just so they can be like, hey, look, does it mean more?
But I mean, is that not just like, well, it just depends on which conference you root for. If you're a fan of the SEC, no, it's not an accurate, measure of strength. If you're the Big Ten, it's the only accurate measure of strength, right? So we'll see, man. Plenty of games left for the SEC, and a few that should be really, really good. That Vanderbilt Iowa game and Texas Michigan. I mean, those both should be very, very good. All right, it's a Monday edition of AFR presented by Relief Windows. Musso in for Moscona. Let's go ahead and go around the SEC.
Around the SEC, bringing you the biggest news from the nation's best conference. The Auburn Tigers.
Biggest piece of transfer portal news of the day on Monday. Wide receiver Cam Coleman is entering the portal when it opens on January 2nd. Alex Golesh and that new coaching staff, they were hard at work trying to solidify Coleman's return. Ultimately, that was not in the cards. He's the highest rated offensive signee in program history. 1,300 yards, 13 touchdowns, 93 receptions in 2 years at Auburn. He will enter the portal and command a lot of attention and a lot of money. Cam Coleman to the portal.
The Florida Gators.
Paging Lane Kiffin. Florida edge Jaden Woods becomes the latest Gator to enter the transfer portal. Feels like their entire team is actually in the portal. He's a rising sophomore, was a part of the class of 2025, so this was his freshman season, and he burst onto the scene, played in all 12 games, 28 tackles, 3.5 sacks. He had an interception, a forced fumble. He was really good, but he'll head elsewhere. 3 years of eligibility remaining for Florida edge Jaden Woods.
The Kentucky Wildcats.
Is a big boost for the Kentucky secondary. Star DB Ty Bryant has announced that he will return to the Wildcats in 2026. He had a lot of offers to go into the transfer portal, but Will Stein, in his first season in Lexington, will be able to retain Ty Bryant. His mother, Terry Bryant, actually first made the news public on Facebook. Helped propel the Wildcats, 46 solo tackles, 4 interceptions, Ty Bryant in 2025.
The Arkansas Razorbacks.
And Ryan Silverfield and the Hogs added another member to their 2026 signing class. It is JUCO defensive tackle Antonio Sandal Bascom, 6'3", 305 pounds. He was originally set to play for Silverfield at Memphis. Jumped in, decommitted, I should say, was released from his letter. Took a couple other visits, but ultimately followed Silverfield to Arkansas, Kansas, Baylor. Those are some others. He'll have 2 seasons of eligibility remaining when he arrives in Fayetteville in the summer. All right, that is around the SEC. This is after further review. Fun story to close out the first hour of the show. You'll remember a couple weeks ago, Marshall Faulk added Ben Miles, son of Les Miles, to his staff over at Southern. Well, there's another LSU tie joining up with Marshall Faulk on the Bluff. This is one. It's really exciting, man. Fired up for this former Tiger. We'll tell you who it is next here on AFR.
After further review.
Love telling you about our friends over at Duplessis Builders because they're going to build you a beautiful pool, build you a beautiful outdoor kitchen. They'll give you a 10-year workmanship warranty on their pool builds when the industry standard is 1. Let me say that slowly so you understand. Most pool builders, when they build your pool, they give you a 1-year warranty on their work. 1 year. Duplessis gives you a 10-year workmanship warranty because Derek is an engineer by trade. They take the time to do it right as they go through the process of the pool build, so they're building you something that is going to last, something beautiful that's going to last. You want to know why Duplessis Builders was named a top 50 pool builder in America by Pool & Spa Magazine? Meet with them one time, you'll get it. DuplessisBuilders.net. That beautiful pool, that outdoor kitchen, they can do it all for you. DuplessisBuilders.net.
After further review, presented by Relief Windows. Windows, doors, siding, and oh, we do shutters too.
Right about Parish Construction Roofing, parishbuilt.com, parishbuilt.com. Tell you every day, do business with someone you know. That's me and Terrio and Richard Tilley and Joe Morales and Trent Davis and our whole staff. We appreciate everyone so much who's giving us the opportunity. Our commercial roofing manager, Matt Pearson, sent us all a text that we were just awarded a large commercial roofing job today, and they heard us talking about it. And yes, of course, at your home, any roof repair, replacement, we love to help you out. We can install gutters for you. We do soft wash, do all of it. But I want to remind you that we are a commercial roofing company as well. So if your commercial building needs a new roof or repair, you have any issues whatsoever, we have the best guy. We went and scoured the world and found Matt Pearson in Florida, and we brought him to Baton Rouge. I'm convinced there's not a soul alive that knows more about commercial roofing than Matt Pearson. So if your commercial building is having any roof issues, roof repair, replacement, or you just need options, trust me, have a conversation with Matt Pearson. We'd love to help you out. parishbuilt.com, parishbuilt.com.
Marshall Faulk continues to fill out his first staff at Southern as he heads into his first season there on the Bluff. 2 weeks ago, we told you that he was hiring Ben Miles, son of former LSU head coach Les Miles. Just an awesome connection there. There's another LSU connection on Marshall Faulk's staff for the Jaguars now, and that is former Tiger Benny Logan. Benny Logan will be joining up Southern staff as the defensive line coach. He comes to Southern from Catholic High, where he spent the last season on as an assistant coach there. This is awesome, and such a great next step, I think, for Benny Logan in his career. I mean, when you just look at him at LSU, was a standout defensive tackle for LSU from 2009 to 2012. He started 25 games. He was a first-team All-American selection in 2012 and was part of that great, historic LSU defense in 2011, obviously, with that team that just unfortunately fell one game short because they had to play an Alabama team that didn't deserve a rematch in the national championship, but we don't need to rehash that. But he was a central part of that defense next to Michael Brockers. Again, in 2012, he said first-team All-American and went on to be a third-round draft pick of the Philadelphia Eagles and a 6-year career in the NFL where for the middle of that career, I mean, he was a bona fide starter for the Eagles and for the Chiefs. So now he'll come back. He's a Coshada, Louisiana native. He'll come back, staying in Baton Rouge. He'll go coach the defensive line at Southern, and man, that's awesome. You look at a guy like Benny Logan, coach makes an awful lot of sense. This is also a guy who in his time at LSU wore the number 18. I mean, and that is leadership. That is everything that it embodies to be an LSU Tiger, character, all of those things. So, like I said, he was with Catholic High as an assistant coach. They're already back in Baton Rouge, but cool to see him make the jump now from high school and a very good high school program, one of the best high school programs in the state, obviously in Catholic, now up to the college level at Southern on Marshall Faulk's staff. And I mean, again, it's a great opportunity for Benny Logan as well, just for him to further his career in coaching, which is obviously his aspiration right now, to be around veterans and just not just of coaching, but of the game of football like Marshall Faulk. There's a lot to learn there. So, man, congratulations, Benny Logan, defensive line coach for the Southern Jaguars on Marshall Faulk's inaugural staff there on the Bluff. Their season will get underway, obviously, this coming fall in 2026. So hats off and shout out, Benny Logan. Awesome honor. Okay, let's see. Didn't set to put a button here on hour number one. That flew by. Talked to LSU's loss in the Texas Bowl, the Saints, and their fourth straight win. We got a lot more to come here as well. Really going to dive into first two segments of hour number two. Portal and roster building for LSU heading into 2026. Because one position LSU absolutely has to address was the weakest position on your team a year ago, and that was offensive line. And you've already seen plenty of turnover at that position. Want to update you with the very latest on LSU's offensive line, who's in the portal, what numbers look like, and how much they need to target, and if there's guys that could potentially get out of the portal to return to LSU. And then Lane Kiffin said something very interesting when he was on the broadcast in the second quarter of the Texas Bowl, talking with Tom Hart and Cole Kublik. And I believe it was Cole who asked the question. And Cole asked him about roster building at LSU and the mix between high school and portal. And Lane Kiffin, I don't want to say contradicted himself. I don't think that he really did. But his comments on emphasis on a high school class and portal, it kind of flew in the face of everything that we know or think we know of how Lane Kiffin builds rosters. I did some digging into that a little bit today, and I have some thoughts. So that's going to really be our first two segments of hour number two, focusing on LSU's roster in 2026. We still have plenty to come as well. Michael Van Buren's future, Tyler Shuck, and his just how he continues to elevate his game, and the New Orleans Saints Rookie of the Year, all of that. SportsCenter is next, national headlines, and we'll be back with hour two of AFR. Stick around.
After further review.
Love telling you about Arco Power Systems, ARCCO, arco.com, arco.com. That's Arco Power Systems. We talk about generators a lot in Louisiana, especially all along the Gulf Coast, where we're sort of in this storm belt right here in the Gulf Coast. Well, of course, a lot of people have home standby generators. When we talk about Arco Power Systems, these are not home standby generators. This is industrial generator power. This is for your business. I mean, just think about it. When the power goes out, be it a hurricane, an ice storm, snow like we had last year, power goes out. What do you do with your business? Well, being offline is not an option. That's why you need Arco Power Systems. ARCCO, arco.com, arco.com, arco.com. Just look at all the locations. Baton Rouge, Bossier, Harvey, Lake Charles, Mandeville, Mobile, LaPorte, Texas, San Antonio, Little Rock, Houston, Dallas. They're everywhere. So if you're a business and you need standby power for your business, you need Arco Power Systems. ARCCO, arco.com, arco.com, arco.com.